Oprah coming next. Once I establish this as a place of truth, oh yeah. Watch. God's people ain't that few.
Oprah is obviously a saintly, godlike figure who's revered by all decent people. Why would she exclude you?
I really don't know. Crossing over next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
Have such stressful jobs. How do you unwind to relax at some time?
I think their job is stressful. I think being the Wonder Bread representative might be stressful.
Not compared to a real job. I will not disrespect the people here that work hard.
This isn't a real job.
This ain't no real job.
This ain't just another Hollywood headline. This is Oprah Winfrey, a name that once stood for power, truth, and unstoppable influence. But lately that shine's starting to fade fast. The same name that used to open doors and inspire millions is now at the center of controversy, with comedians, actors, and even authors calling her out. And they're not pulling any punches. For decades, Oprah reigned supreme over the media world, the queen of talk, the tastemaker who could launch or destroy careers with a single interview. Her word was gospel.
I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people.
Oprah said that if Trump wins, you may never be able to vote again. That is
it's just so
the
ridiculous.
craziest thing when you go back and watch him on her show, where she was encouraging him to be president. You ever see
Now seems the opportunity. And that's why this is such a victory. Tomorrow, you will hear me doing the dance because it's
her influence unmatched. But now that crown looks shaky because more and more voices are stepping up saying, wait a minute, maybe Oprah isn't as genuine as she wants everyone to believe.
Oprah coming next. Once I establish this as a place of truth, oh yeah. Watch. God's people ain't that few.
And these aren't just internet trolls or anonymous critics. These are some of the biggest names in entertainment speaking out. Heavyweights like Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Whoopi Goldberg, Kevin Hart, and even James Frey, the author who once exposed her live on her own show, are all putting her under the spotlight. The laughter's changed direction. They're not laughing with her anymore. They're laughing at her, exposing what's been happening behind the curtain for years.
very first time we started our friendship, stayed up that first night and talked all night long. She has always been happier for me and everything that's ever happened to me.
Let's start with one of the loudest voices of them all, Cat Williams. Because when Cat talks, the whole internet pays attention. Known for fearless truth-telling and sharp comedy.
To do this in my business. I'm up here doing something that nobody else in this business has the balls to do. I'm telling you something that you need to know.
He's been unloading on Oprah in recent interviews and stand-up routines like never before. His words cut deep. His delivery leaves no doubt. He's not joking this time. Cat's accused Oprah of being part of a bigger Hollywood system, one that pretends to uplift but really works to control. He paints a picture of an industry where power moves quietly and those who question it end up blacklisted or silenced.
Crossing over next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
His take? That Oprah's not just a talk show icon. She's a player in a much deeper game that most people never see coming. He says the industry manipulates, controls, and silences Black talent from the inside out. And Oprah, according to Cat Williams, plays a major role in that system.
People were saying, though, that you were on drugs, you lost your mind, you went into a mental institution. What is true, what is not?
Not on drugs.
Not on drugs.
Nah, not for years.
Okay.
No, I'm not on drugs.
And you weren't on drugs at the time?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm telling you, I was incredibly stressed out. Love is like a nutrient. And I was deficient on vitamin love.
Really? Were you really?
I'm on Oprah, baby. Oh, snap.
No, really, what was going on?
Man, a hero stumbles. Well, the cowards rejoice.
He flat out said Oprah ain't no saint. She just mastered the game better than anyone else. Behind the smile and polished image, Kat claims there's a calculated business mind that knows exactly how to move power around in Hollywood. According to him, Oprah doesn't just build careers. She decides who gets in and who gets locked out. He called her the gatekeeper, saying she uses her power to push her own agendas while keeping others beneath the surface. That hit deep with fans, especially because Oprah's entire brand has always been built on empathy, inspiration, and giving people a voice. But Kat says that's all a performance, a carefully crafted image designed to make her untouchable.
Make a movie, regardless of who you signed the deal with.
Yes.
Your job is to go and promote said movie. When they wanted you to come, and we've had this conversation, and I said, if you had called me, I could have schooled you on what.
He even joked once, Oprah don't invite you to her show unless you already on her side, which he explained meant that her interviews weren't about helping guests. They were about controlling their narrative. Instead of uplifting, she rewrites the story to make herself the hero of it. Now, some people brush Kat off, saying he's just being dramatic, wild, paranoid, or over the top. But when other respected voices in comedy start echoing the same thing, that's when people start paying real attention. Because now, it's not just one comedian talking, it's a pattern forming. That's where Dave Chappelle comes in, a man who's never been afraid to challenge the system. Dave's connection to Oprah goes way back to the early 2000s, when his Chappelle's Show changed the face of television. But in 2006, he shocked the entire world by walking away from his $50 million deal with Comedy Central. The media went wild, calling him unstable, crazy, and paranoid. That's when Oprah invited him onto her show. And what happened next would spark a conversation that fans still bring up today.
Own hair. You got a little extra piece right here, though.
I do not.
Whoa! I do not. Whoa! I do not. I do not. Whoa.
For many, it was the moment where they realized that sometimes the spotlight doesn't shine to expose the truth. It shines to control the narrative. That interview between Dave Chappelle and Oprah, that's when everything got strange. On the surface, it looked calm and professional, two media icons having a respectful conversation. But if you really watch it closely, the tone shifts. Oprah's body language, her pauses, even her facial expressions, something felt off. Her questions weren't gentle or supportive. They came across sharp, almost condescending, like she wasn't really there to understand Dave's decision, but to correct him publicly. Viewers noticed that her tone flipped between concern and control, as if she wanted to reshape his story right in front of the cameras. Many fans later said it felt less like an interview and more like an intervention. Dave looked cornered, his words carefully chosen.
People throw millions of dollars in my face to do something I didn't want to do. And what? Just, you've been offered, yeah. Oh, they're in the room.
Yeah, I don't want to.
While Oprah pressed him to explain himself as if she didn't believe him. It wasn't about truth anymore. It was about narrative control. And years later, people started to connect the dots. Realizing that moment may have been when Dave understood that Oprah wasn't just another talk show host. She was part of the same Hollywood machine he was trying to break away from. Dave never came out swinging directly at Oprah. That's not his style. But he left clues, hints that spoke louder than words. He once said, "Hollywood will break you if you don't play their game." And when he said their game, fans knew exactly who he meant. The power structure, the gatekeepers, the ones who pretend to uplift but really maintain control. And Oprah's name keeps coming up in those conversations. Now let's shift to Whoopi Goldberg, another Hollywood powerhouse whose history with Oprah runs deep and complicated.
Books I've ever read, but Oprah at one point touted it as she did their Oprah book club where it was she'd get these great books. But then it came out that the story wasn't a true autobiography to it. And he got ripped online.
Yeah.
Into a billion little pieces.
to say his account was falsified and and then he had to go on an apology tour and all this stuff. And it was dude, our entertainment is going.
Their connection goes back to the late 1980s when they worked together on The Color Purple, the film that changed both their careers forever. On screen, it was sisterhood and solidarity. But behind the scenes, whispers say it wasn't nearly that peaceful.
Daughters came to you and said, look, this guy is doing to me what the allegations are against you.
Then I would have to arrest myself after I did what I had to.
For years, rumors swirled about tension between Whoopi and Oprah. Not just creative differences, but real friction over control. Word was, Whoopi didn't like how Oprah tried to position herself as the heart and soul of the project, using her platform to steer the story in her direction. People close to the production claimed Oprah's influence started overshadowing the cast, and that didn't sit right with Whoopi, who wanted the movie to speak for itself, not become another extension of Oprah's image. The dynamic between those two powerful women became one of Hollywood's longest-running mysteries, and it set the stage for decades of quiet tension that still gets people talking today. At one point, word spread that Oprah stopped inviting Whoopi Goldberg to her private events, even when both were in the same city. People close to them said the tension was real, even if the public never saw it outright. Decades later, Oprah went on record saying, "We're fine. We've always been fine," but the body language in interviews told a different story. Whoopi's always been a straight shooter. She doesn't fake smiles or play the Hollywood game for appearances. And if you've watched her on The View, she's dropped slick, coded comments about the industry's double standards, about how some people claim to be for the culture while secretly only helping themselves. Fans online are quick to connect those dots. And more often than not, those dots lead right back to Oprah. Then comes Chris Rock, the comedian known not for feuds, but for dropping truth bombs that make entire audiences freeze for a second before the laughter hits. When Chris decides to speak on something, it's never random. His jokes carry sharp meaning, especially when aimed at powerful figures. In his stand-up routines and interviews, Chris has hinted that Oprah represents the side of Hollywood that demands obedience if you want to stay successful. He once said, "Some folks make it in this business because they're talented. Some folks make it because they're obedient." That line cut deep, Don, like a shot fired across the entire entertainment industry. Because when people talk about obedient Hollywood, Oprah's name always comes up. She's seen as the model citizen, the one who never challenges the system that made her rich, the one who plays every role perfectly so her seat at the top stays secure. To many, she's the blueprint of how to win in Hollywood without rocking the boat. And that's exactly what critics say is the problem. And here's the part that made fans look twice. Chris once turned down a full sit-down, tell-all interview with Oprah. When asked why, he simply said, "Nah, I don't need to be saved on TV." That one sentence said everything. It was code for, "I don't need Oprah turning my pain into her ratings." That line traveled fast through social media, and fans immediately knew what he meant. He didn't want his truth filtered or repackaged for daytime television consumption. Now that brings us to Kevin Hart, another comedian with ties to Oprah and his own complicated story about what happens when you step outside the Hollywood script. Kevin Hart might be the most cautious name on this entire list, but even he couldn't completely avoid the conversation surrounding Oprah's power and influence. Over the years, Kevin's built a reputation for keeping things professional and steering clear of major industry drama, yet his comments about the politics of Hollywood say a lot without saying too much. He's talked openly about how the entertainment world runs on invisible hierarchies, where certain people, often behind closed doors, decide who gets invited to the table and who doesn't. And while Kevin's never come out swinging directly at Oprah, he's made it very clear that he doesn't buy into the Hollywood family image that gets sold to the public. When Monique publicly clashed with Oprah and Tyler Perry, accusing them of blackballing her career, Kevin tried to remain neutral. But fans noticed something interesting every time he spoke on it. His words were chosen carefully, his tone cautious, like a man walking through a minefield. He said, "I wish everybody peace, but the business is what it is." That one sentence said everything without saying anything at all. The translation? I'm not going to say it out loud, but y'all know what's really going on. Because in Hollywood, crossing someone like Oprah doesn't just spark drama. It can silence a career overnight. People say when Oprah doesn't like you, calls stop coming, meetings get canceled, and doors quietly close. Kevin's too calculated to ever say that directly, but even his silence speaks volumes. Sometimes, silence in Hollywood isn't weakness, it's survival. And that brings the story to one of the most infamous moments in Oprah's career. The clash that made her look less like the world's favorite talk show host and more like a ruthless media executive. That moment came courtesy of author James Frey, the man who dared to challenge Oprah's power and walked straight into one of the most uncomfortable live interviews in TV history. You probably remember the story. James Frey wrote A Million Little Pieces, a memoir about addiction and recovery that became a global sensation. It was raw, honest, emotional, the kind of book that touched millions. Oprah herself chose it for her world-famous book club, skyrocketing its sales overnight and cementing James as a literary star. But then came the twist, the revelation that parts of the memoir were exaggerated, even fabricated. And that's when Oprah flipped the script in a way nobody expected, turning a story about redemption into a public humiliation seen by millions. When the truth finally came out and parts of James Frey's book were exposed as fabricated, Oprah Winfrey felt publicly betrayed. But instead of handling it quietly or addressing it behind closed doors, she made a bold, and some say cruel, decision. She summoned James back onto her show and confronted him live in front of millions of viewers. That broadcast became one of the most infamous moments in television history. Oprah didn't just question him. She scolded him, pressed him, and dissected every detail of his story while he sat there red-faced, visibly breaking down on stage. At the time, the public praised her. They said she was defending honesty and holding someone accountable for lying to the world. But as the years passed, that moment started to look less like justice and more like public punishment. It wasn't about truth anymore, it was about control. James Frey himself later said in interviews, "She didn't want an apology, she wanted a spectacle." That line hit hard because it echoed what other critics had been saying for years. Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, and others have all voiced similar ideas, that Oprah doesn't chase truth, she chases dominance. That her interviews aren't about understanding her guests, but about asserting her position in the industry, keeping the power dynamic clear for everyone watching. And that right there is the thread connecting all these stories, the common link between so many powerful voices in entertainment. Whether it's Cat Williams exposing Hollywood hypocrisy, Dave Chappelle walking away from a system she represents, Whoopi Goldberg keeping her distance, Chris Rock refusing to play the media game, Kevin Hart staying cautious, or James Frey still carrying scars from that televised takedown, they all point toward one unsettling truth. Maybe Oprah's power wasn't built purely on inspiration or integrity. Maybe it was also built on control, gatekeeping, and maintaining her throne in an industry that rewards silence over honesty. For decades, Oprah's image was bulletproof, untouchable. She was the woman who gave away cars, built schools in Africa, and turned pain into profit with a smile. She became America's conscience, the voice that told millions what to read, what to believe, what to feel, and who to forgive. But over time, people began asking harder questions. How much of that empathy was genuine, and how much was calculated brand management? Was her compassion real, or was it carefully packaged for prime time? The answers may not be clear yet, but the shift in public perception is impossible to ignore, and it's growing louder with every story that resurfaces. It's a mirror, a cold, unfiltered reflection showing that even the most powerful woman in media can't hide behind her image forever. Every smile, every sermon, every polished interview now feels different. Like maybe all that kindness came with invisible strings attached. And that's the question echoing across social media right now. What does this mean for Oprah's legacy? Let's be real. Legends don't crumble overnight. Oprah still has her billions, her television network, and an army of loyal followers who still see her as an icon of hope and power. But the cracks are showing and they're spreading fast. People aren't just remembering what she gave anymore. They're remembering what she took. The guests she humiliated on camera, the friends she cut off when they stopped serving her image, and the careers that faded after crossing her path, it's all coming back to light. The comedians, the ones who see through illusion better than anyone, they're holding the mirror up. Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, Whoopi Goldberg, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, all speaking truth in different tones, but all pointing to the same message. The mask is slipping, and the truth underneath isn't as shiny as it used to be. Cat once said, "Comedy is truth wrapped in pain." And maybe that's exactly what this entire story is. The painful truth behind the woman the world once believed was flawless. Because when you strip away the awards, the magazine covers, and the perfect TV moments, what's left is a story about power, how it's built, how it's protected, and how it eventually costs you everything. At the end of the day, power always comes with a price. And Oprah's price might just be her reputation, the one thing she spent decades crafting. The same public that once worshipped her is now dissecting every word, every action, every old interview, looking for the truth that was always hiding in plain sight. So now the question hangs heavy. Are these comedians just bitter? Or are they finally saying what everyone's been too afraid to say for years? Because whether you love Oprah or question her, one thing's undeniable. The era of her being untouchable is over. The laughter that once celebrated her has turned into truth-telling. And that truth, it's got her name written all over it. Don't miss out on what's next. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Because trust, we've got more stories Hollywood doesn't want you to hear. See you in the next one.